All right. Thank you for joining me. Today is another day. Some exciting news. Team USA won today, so they're moving on to the semifinals of the hockey, well, of the Olympic hockey rounds. And so I think that's a pretty good reason to be happy. Welcome to another episode of Blake's Everyday Podcast. Today we're going to be reading uh, Job. We're going to be starting at Job 26, but we're going to go really as far as we can. Um, this time I'm going to try it a little differently. I'm going to try to basically eliminate some of my kind of rambling and just kind of carry on here. I'm going to still read the bottom print and read read the descriptions of what things are about. But other than that, let's get started. So we're starting at Job chapter 26. Then Job replied, "How you have helped the powerless, how you have saved the arm that is feeble. What advice you have offered to one without wisdom, and that great insight you have displayed. Who has helped you utter these words, and whose spirit spoke from your mouth? The dead are in deep anguish, those beneath the waters and all that live in them. The realm of the dead is naked before God. Destruction lies uncovered. He spreads out the northern skies over empty space. He suspends the earth over nothing. He wraps up the waters in his clouds, yet the clouds do not burst under their weight. He covers the face of the full moon, spreading his clouds over it. He marks out the horizon on the face of the waters. For a boundary between light and darkness, the pillars of the heavens quake, aghast at his rebuke. By his power he churned up the sea. By his wisdom he cut Rahab to pieces. By his breath the skies became bare. His hand pierced the gliding serpent. And those are but the outer fringe of his works. How faint the whisper we hear of him. Who then can understand the thunder of his power?" So, I don't have any small description down here at the bottom of the page this time, which it doesn't look like I will till chapter 28. I'd love to get into my rambling, but I'm not going to hold us up too much with that kind of stuff. Not on this one, at least. I'm kind of trying to learn as I go on how to do this kind of stuff. I've never edited anything. I've never done anything of this sort. In fact, I could take a lot of lessons from some people, but I figure this is actually pretty cool because I'm not really changing anything up with this. I just want to be real and read the Bible. And I know I say that, but I'm still really low on the totem pole, which I like with subscribers and stuff, which I hope, nobody feels obligated to ever subscribe to this channel. I just hope they listen to the word and all that. That'd be great. But here we continue at Job chapter 27, Job's final word to his friends. And Job continued his discourse. "As surely as God lives, who has denied me justice, the Almighty who has made my life bitter. As long as I have life within me, the breath of God in my nostrils, my lips will not say anything wicked, and my tongue will not utter lies. I will never admit you are in the right till I die. I will not deny my integrity. I will maintain my innocence and never let go of it. My conscience will not reproach me as long as I live. May my enemy be like the wicked, my adversary, like the unjust. For what hope have the godless when they are cut off? When God takes away their life. I like that. For what hope have the godless when they are cut off? When God takes away their life. So, and I'm going to ramble here, but that's a good verse. For what hope have the godless when they are cut off, when God takes away their life? So his friends are basically knocking him down, dragging him down, thinking that misery and suffering only come upon those who are ungodly. He, before I started this channel, he had gone through something super traumatic, and I mean, they're beating him down saying he's ungodly, but here he is saying, for what hope have the godless when they are cut off, when God takes away their life? That's a pretty good verse because, it's not like that, and it's I don't know, that's a good verse. There's my rambling again, sorry about that. Does God listen to their cry when distress comes upon them? Will they find delight in the Almighty? Will they call on God at all times? I will teach you about the power of God. The ways of the Almighty I will not conceal. You have all seen this yourselves. Why then this meaningless talk? Here is the fate God allots to the wicked, the heritage a ruthless man receives from the Almighty. However many his children, their fate is the sword. His offspring will never have enough to eat. The plague will bury those who survive him, and their widows will not weep for them. Though he heaps up silver like dust, and the clothes like piles of clay. What he lays up the righteous will wear, and the innocent will divide his silver. The house he built is like a moth's cocoon, like a hut made by a watchman. He lies down wealthy, but will do so no more. When he opens his eyes, all is gone. Terrors overtake him like a flood. A tempest snatches him away in the night. The east wind carries him off, and he is gone. It sweeps him out of his place. It hurls itself against him without mercy, as he flees headlong from its power. It claps its hand in derision and hisses him out of his place. Okay, and like that last chapter, for Job 27, I'm not really going to go into too much rambling, but the important thing is to remember, this is Job's final word to his friends, meaning that he's done arguing with them. But I still really like that verse, for what hope have the godless when they are cut off, when God takes away their life. And even as you read more verses after that, that even explains it even deeper. So like after he says that, he says, does God listen to their cry when distress comes upon them? Will they find delight in the Almighty? Will they call on God at all times? What I get from that is basically he's saying, no, you're wrong. I mean, God's here to save as many people as he can. Well, Jesus came here to save as many people as he can. He died for our sins. So, and everybody's a sinner. No matter who you are, you have sinned in your life. Nobody's perfect. And it's important to just look back at that. I mean, he explains it right there. I mean, he's asking his friends, does God listen to their cry when distress comes upon them? Will they find delight in the Almighty? Will they call on God at all times? God isn't here to knock you down. He's here to bring you up and try to save you. I mean, like I said, everybody's a sinner. Everybody's going to go through their trials and tribulations, and apparently they like to act like they've never had that. And everybody does, and everybody can be saved. And that's pretty much the message to anybody out there that's listening to this is everybody can be saved. You just need to take it one step at a time and believe. But we're going to go ahead and continue at chapter 28. There is a mine for silver and a place where gold is refined. Iron is taken from the earth, and copper is smelted from ore. Mortals put an end to the darkness. They search out the farthest recesses for one in the blackest darkness. Far from human dwellings, they cut a shaft. Far from human dwellings, they cut a shaft in places untouched by human feet. Far from other people, they dangle and sway. The earth from which food comes and transformed below as by fire, lapis and lazuli comes from its rocks, and its dust contains nuggets of gold. No bird of prey knows that hidden path. No falcon's eye has seen it. Proud beasts do not set foot on it, and no lion prowls there. People assault the flinty rock with their hands and lay bare roots of the mountains. They tunnel through the rock. Their eyes see all its treasures. They search the sources of the rivers and bring hidden things to light. But where can wisdom be found? Where does understanding dwell? No mortal comprehends its worth. It cannot be found in the land of the living. The deep says, "It is not in me." The sea says, "It is not with me." It cannot be bought with the finest gold, nor can its price be weighed out in silver. It cannot be bought with the gold of Ophir, with precious onyx or lapis lazuli. Neither gold nor crystal can compare with it, nor can it be had for jewels of gold. Coral and jasper are not worthy of mention. The price of wisdom is beyond rubies. The topaz of Cush cannot compare with it. It cannot be bought with pure gold. Where then does wisdom come from? Where does understanding dwell? It is hidden from the eyes of every living thing, concealed even from the birds in the sky. Destruction and death say, only a rumor of it has reached our ears. God understands the way to it, and he alone knows where it dwells. For he views the ends of the earth and sees everything under the heavens. When he establishes the force of the wind and measured out the waters, when he made a decree for the rain and a path for the thunderstorm, then he looked at wisdom and appraised it. He confirmed it and tested it. And he said to the human race, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to shun evil is understanding. So now we finally got one of those descriptions at the bottom of the page. And this is where I can kind of ramble a little bit, but at least I got something to kind of go off of. Because like I said in my first video, I'm new to this. I did just kind of start reading the Bible not too long ago. So I'm kind of learning with you. If you're a beginner, if you're a new, like somebody that's listening that knows a lot, hang tight, I'll get there. So right here the description goes from Job 28 and verse 28. The fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to shun evil is understanding. This is God's message to us, that wisdom is found only in God and his ways. But how do we know that God expects of us? God has given us his truth in the Bible. We are responsible to study it and discover what he expects of us. We should ask God to show us his truth, and then take the time to listen. See James James 1, chapter 6. See James chapter 1, verse 6. As God reveals his truth to us, he will give us the strength and encouragement we need to follow his plan for life. So, we're going to continue here now. Job chapter 29. The title for it is Job's Final Defense. So Job continued his discourse. How I long for the months gone by, for the days when God watched over me, when his lamps shone on my head, and by his light I walked through darkness. Oh, for the days when I was in my prime, when God's intimate friendship blessed my house, when the Almighty was still with me, and my children were around me, when my path was drenched with cream, and the rock poured out for me steams of olive oil. Let me reread that verse. When my path was drenched with cream, and the rock poured out for me streams of olive oil, when I went to the gate of the city and took my seat in the public square, the young men saw me and stepped aside, and the old men rose to their feet. The chief men refrained from speaking and covered their mouths with their hands. The voices of the nobles were hushed, and their tongues stuck to the roof of their mouths. Whoever heard me spoke well of me, and those who saw me commended me, because I rescued the poor who cried for help, and the fatherless who had none to assist them. The one who was dying blessed me. I made the widow's heart sing. I put the righteousness as my clothing. Justice was my robe and my turban. I was eyes to the blind and feet to the lame. I was a father to the needy. I took up the case of the stranger. I broke the fangs of the wicked and snatched the victims from their teeth. I thought I will die in my own house. My days are as numerous as the grains of sand. My roots will reach to the water, and the dew will lie all night on my branches. My glory will not fade. The bough will be ever new in my hand. People listened to me expectantly, waiting in silence for my counsel. After I had spoken, they spoke no more. My words fell gently on their ears. They waited for me as for showers, and drank in my words as the spring rain. When I smiled at them, they scarcely believed it. The light of my face was precious to them. I chose the way for them and sat as their chief. I dwelt as a king among his troops. I was like one who comforts mourners. So now, again, we have, oh shoot, it's no good. Got a little rip there. Again, we have some descriptions down here that I'll read to you. So Job chapter 29, verses 1 through 3. Job remembered the days when he was prosperous and God seemed to be blessing him. Those were days when Job felt secure. As hard as it is for us to believe, God continues to take care of us when we suffer. Even when suffering is brought on by our own actions, He is there, waiting for us to call on Him for deliverance. And then we got Job chapter 29, verses 18 through 19. Our lives now may be very different from what we had hoped they would be. We may not have fulfilled our youthful dreams, but we don't have to give up hope. Accepting the reality of our lives as they are, not as we wish them to be, is the first step toward surrendering our lives to God. Then He can begin the process of spiritual renewal that can completely transform us into what He wants us to be. I like that description. I kind of feel like I've been in that position, especially, within like the last 6 months in a way. So there was a time in my life, personally, that I was a very depressed person and stuff, and I don't know. Something just flipped one day, almost like well, I will say, I think wholeheartedly that I had a full blown conversation in my mind with the Holy Spirit, and it truly changed my life. I mean, I see I see the world from a completely different perspective now, and I've just seen so many drastic changes in myself, whether it be the way that I view going to work in the morning, the way that I wake up in the morning, the way I go outside and play with my kids, and do these things. It's not like when I go outside and play with my kids, a couple, let's say a couple years ago, when I was depressed or something, I'd be like, oh, I don't want to go out there and play with the kids, and that's not a way to look at that, and I'm sure a lot of people are like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would agree that that's not the way to go about that, but that's how I was. I'd be more like, oh, let me chug this drink down before I go out there real quick, or I don't want to jump on the trampoline. I'm smoking a cigar and drinking. It's that kind of stuff that you build from. And when you find God and you start going to church and you start reading the Bible, it gives you a sense of purpose. It gives you that connection with God, and it makes life so much better. And I truly, wholeheartedly believe that that's how it works. And as long as you follow God and you truly trust in Him and you start doing these things, things are just going to seem right. They're going to start working in your favor. And you're going to go through your life with turbulation and trials and all that stuff, but it just makes it so much easier in my heart. And I really think everybody should start showing some faith, because it's important and it's cool. It's a cool message everywhere around it. We're probably going to finish on chapter 30, and we'll start back on chapter 31 tomorrow. So we got one more chapter to read tonight. But Job chapter 30. But now they mock me, men younger than I, whose fathers I would have disdained to put with my sheepdogs. Of what use was the strength of their hands to me, since their vigor had gone from them? Vigor? Haggard from want and hunger, they roamed the parched land and desolate wastelands at night. Again, let me reread that. Sorry, I am not the best reader. So haggard from haggard from want and hunger, they roamed in parched land and desolate wastelands at night. And the brush they gathered salt herbs, and their food was the root of the broom bush. They were banished from human society, shouted at as if they were thieves. They were forced to live in the dry stream beds, among the rocks and in holes in the ground. They brayed among the bushes and huddled in the undergrowth, a base and nameless brood. They were driven out of the land. And now those young men mock me in song. I have become a byword among them. They detest me and keep their distance. They do not hesitate to spit in my face. Now that God has unstrung my bow and afflicted me, they throw off restraint in my presence. On my right, the tribe attacks. They lay snares for my feet. They build their siege ramps against me. They break up my road. They succeed in destroying me. No one can help me. They say they advance as though a gaping breach. Amid the ruins, they come rolling in. Terrors overwhelm me. My dignity is driven away as by the wind. My safety vanishes like a cloud. And now my life ebbs away. Days of suffering grip me. Night pierces my bones. My gnawing pains never rest. And his great power, God becomes like clothing to me. He binds me like the neck of my garment. He throws me into the mud, and I am reduced to dust and ashes. I cry out to you, God, but you do not answer. I stand up, but you merely look at me. You turn on me ruthlessly. With the might of your hand, you attack me. You snatch me up and drive me before the wind. You toss me about in the storm. I know you will bring me down to death, to the place appointed for all the living. Surely no one lays a hand on a broken man. When he cries for help in his distress, have I not wept for those in trouble? Has not my soul grieved for the poor? Yet when I hoped for good, evil came. When I looked for light, then came darkness. The churning inside me never stops. Days of suffering confront me. I go about blackened, but not by the sun. I stand up in the assembly and cry for help. I have become a brother of jackals, a companion of owls. My skin grows black and peels. My body burns with fever. My lyre is turned to mourning, and my pipe to the sound of wailing. All right, and we're going to read the bottom description here. As his suffering went on, Job began to feel certain that God wasn't listening. Yet Job hadn't given him the chance to answer. Often we like Job, talk about God, and even talk to God, but we don't stop long enough to let him talk to us. God speaks to us through his word, the Bible, and through our times of prayer and meditation. We need to sit still and wait for God to speak to our hearts. One thing about me is I'm very bad at prayer. And I'm going to say that, I know prayer is very important, and I don't know what it is. I sit there and I'll do all types of stuff all throughout the day, but I miss the most important key part of the day and prayer. I don't pray that much. And it's not that I don't know how to word it very good. It's just the fact that I don't do it. So that's one thing that I need to work on. But I could say a prayer right now. And I will, actually. Let's do that. Dear God, please give us the strength and everything. I mean, just keep everybody safe in our lives, dear Lord. Please just, give us the strength, the curiosity to keep learning from your word. Keep us strong. Keep us more focused towards learning from you and your words, and keep us talking to you. We need to come like friends to you, Lord, as we embrace this new journey of ours. Whether we're beginning or we've already started, or we're a veteran, keep us going, keep us youthful in mind, keep us strong and just ready to learn. And we appreciate everything you've done for us. We appreciate you keeping us safe, especially to this point. The world has been wicked, and we promise to just keep learning from you and everything. So, in God's name, amen. See, that wasn't that great of a prayer. But I was more of talking to God as a friend than anything, I guess. But got some things to work on for sure. But that's tonight's episode of Blake's Everyday Podcast. I hope it didn't suck too bad. But you guys have a great rest of your night. I appreciate you guys listening, whoever it is.